Hello, everyone. This is APO Sports, and I'm finally back to talk some Indiana Fever basketball. It's been a while. I haven't really covered too much of the off season, uh, just other life things going on, and I've tried to write in the times that I can't do videos. But I should be ready to go for the beginning of the season, and for the beginning of training camp, the beginning of the the preseason games, the exhibition games, and everything like that, which are gonna be extremely exciting. But definitely have to talk about all of the different offseason moves that the Indiana Fever have made. I believe that there still remain a few more moves that need to be that still need to happen. I think I see a lot of people, a lot of the fans saying that Katie Lou Samuelson needs to move. Uh, I don't know about that one. It's going to be hard to move that contract. I actually think there's going to be some value. There's some value to having Katie Lou in the lineup. I think she's going to be better than last year. I think she's going to be better defensively. She's going to have her confidence back. And, I mean, last season was kind of tough, and this is not like a Katie Lou Samuelson. This is just really quick, just my thoughts on the whole thing. I think last season that roster was in shambles, and I think Katie Lou does a lot better in something that a rotation that makes sense, being part of the team that knows its identity. Last year everything's confusing, so she was never really able to get into a good rhythm. I know I sound like I'm making excuses for her, but that's just what I believe. As far as I think her skills are there. She just needs to probably be more of a system type player, and I think they're gonna have that next season with Stephanie White. But that to the side, I want to talk about the different moves, starting with NaLyssa Smith. So I don't know how many videos I made last season about NaLyssa Smith. We did a player profile. We did. I mean, we were talking or a player spotlight. We were talking about her constantly. And I don't think I'll be making another video about NaLyssa Smith at this point. She has been traded to the Dallas Wings, where I think she's gonna be, uh, you know, I guess she's gonna have the opportunity to prove what she wants to prove and play the way that she wants to play. I think Dejanay and well, I don't know about Arike, right? So she's gonna have to get hers with Arike in the lineup. And we all know that Arike likes to shoot the ball and likes to control the ball, and that's her team, and she's a crazy scorer. So Melissa Smith is going to try to have to get it in the way that she can get it, but finally she's out of the roster. And I hope that I never really came across as saying that Melissa Smith had no talent. I have seen other people say something like she's trash and all these different things, and I never thought that she was trash. I think she's a really good player, but not a good fit with what the Indiana Fever want to do. Definitely not a good fit with a player like Kaylin Clark. It just doesn't. It doesn't gel. Sometimes you may have your talents, right? You may have your talented players that do well and with different type of players, but NaLyssa Smith and Kaylin Clark just don't match. It's just not the basketball you want to see, right? NaLyssa Smith is more ball dominant. She needs to have the ball in her hands. She needs to have time to get on the post and make her moves, while everybody else is just standing around and watching. And that's not the type of basketball that the Fever want to play. The Fever want to make sure that they have the ball on Kaylin Clark's hands as much as possible, and NaLyssa Smith was simply taken away from that. I think she's gonna demonstrate. Here's also what I anticipate is that NaLyssa Smith is gonna go off and really gonna have a good season. She may even make the All Star team. I don't know, potentially. Although I do anticipate that there's a bunch of Fever players that are gonna make the All Star game. So I don't know. She could. I'm not saying she will, but NaLyssa Smith could be playing at All Star level. If we're gonna be like, oh look, she was freed. All they're starting to call them the slows now, in social media. But yeah, I guess the slows will start saying something like see, NaLyssa Smith is finally freed from Kaylin Clark. Look at how she's balling. She just needed to be freed from Kaylin Clark and that toxic organization. Here's what I'm thinking the narrative is going to look like, but um, it's to be expected, right? It's just she's going to fit much better, potentially, in that system with the Dallas Wings. She has a cheerleader, right? She has someone who believes in her, like DeWanna, who, they're playing together, so that's really good for NaLyssa Smith, because I believe that Janae knows that NaLyssa's the best player, the better player out of them two, anyways. But right now, NaLyssa Smith is probably the second best player in Dallas. So, that's good. Whereas, I mean, in the Fever, she was probably third or fourth. Actually, no, the fourth best player easily because of Kelsey Mitchell, Leo Boston, Kaylin Clark. So, she was okay. I mean, she handled herself pretty, she wasn't too bad, I think. So, kind of wish her the best, but I am glad that the team was able to get rid of her. So that was the first move that I thought needed to happen, and it happened. So I'm glad. And it came in a trade. It came in a trade that some Fever fans were, or not only Fever fans, but some other people were saying, "Did we get enough for NaLyssa Smith?" And I mean, to me, it didn't really matter. I mean, this is addition by subtraction when it comes to that team. But the fact that they did get Sophie Cunningham it's like a crazy upgrade and an amazing player that it's going to fit the team. Sophie Cunningham, from what I remember, right? Because I'm not gonna put up stats. Not this time around. We're gonna do it when we do player spotlights. So this is just from me remembering from when I was watching the games last season, and Sophie Cunningham was a menace. I remember her just hitting shot after shot. She used to get really hot and just couldn't miss, really, from all over the court. She can shoot the 2, she can shoot the 3, the long 3. She can defend. She's feisty. She's got attitude. She's got, she's the enforcer. Like, she's just gonna be a great addition to that entire group, right? Because we have like our professional assassin, who's Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell. Then we have Aaliyah Boston, who can get feisty, but she's all business as well. We have Kaylin Clark, who can definitely spice it up, and get out there with the best of them. Lexi Hall is also another professional enforcer type player who, you can't really mess around with her. But then you have Sophie, and then you have DeWanna Bonner, and then you have Natasha Howard. Like, it's just crazy the amount of talent and the amount and the cast of characters that the Indiana Fever have been able to kind of put together here. But now let's move up to the free agent signing, which was DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard. So first, DeWanna Bonner, and again, I just want to talk about not numbers, but just what I remember. And the crazy thing that I remember about DeWanna Bonner is that playoff series against the Fever. And after game 1, it was evident, that the Connecticut Sun only had 2 scoring threats. That was it. So in the video that I made a video after that game ended, game 1 in the playoffs, and I essentially talked about the defensive plan that needed to be. I was saying Kelsey Mitchell needed to be on Marina Mabry 100% of the time. Just talk to her. Like, don't even worry about anything else, Kelsey Mitchell. Just make sure that you're not giving Marina Mabry any breathing room. And then same thing for DeWanna Bonner. Lexi Hall just needed to be on DeWanna Bonner, because really those were the only 2 scoring threats. And that game 1, Bonner just torched the Fever. And also, for whatever reason, so Alyssa Thomas, she's a really good player. I definitely don't want to say anything to indicate that that Alyssa Thomas is not a good player. She's a really good player, but people, I don't know why they get their brain, they get like brain malfunction whenever they play against her. Like, we all know she's not a scoring threat at all whatsoever. Like, she doesn't impact scoring. The only way she can hurt you is when she gets others involved. And the others that she was getting involved in that series was Mabry and Bonner, because the Fever just continued to leave them open over helping on Thomas. you don't need to overhelp on Thomas. You can just play her straight up one-on-one, or even forget that she exists. She can kill you with twos, but you can live with those twos. You just don't want to leave Bonner or Mabry open for three, and we just didn't have the discipline to be able to do that. So we just kept leaving these people open for three. And, there was an adjustment, I think, game two that Christy Sides was able to make, which is probably the only positive thing that I can say about Christy Sides' adjustment. But the problem was that the team as a whole, naturally, they weren't disciplined enough, right? So now all of a sudden you want to apply this game plan, which you've never had a game plan the entire season. Now you finally have a game plan, but it wasn't natural to them, right? So again, they continue overhelping where they shouldn't have overhelped. And at the end of game two, if you remember, Marina Mabry was the one who was able to, knock down that dagger three at the end of that game, and it was because someone forgot their assignment, right? So really, the only thing Connecticut had, and that Connecticut team wasn't really a good team, but the only thing Connecticut had was Bonner and Mabry as far as scoring threats. But anyways, all this to say that DeWanna Bonner can essentially score from anywhere. Um, she's got height, so she can score over you know pretty much anybody. She's athletic, meaning that she's mobile, right? I mean, she is 38 years old, but still, um, I'm pretty sure that her minutes are going to be limited to some extent. So she's not gonna. I don't think she's gonna play like more than 30 minutes a game. So that's the important thing of having, Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall to kind of come in and supplement for those minutes, right? I would imagine that Bonner would be there for first quarters, to start the game and to close out second quarters and to close out fourth quarters. Yeah, that's why you need a big time player, big shot maker, um, on the court. So, and that's what she is, right? I mean, it was evident that she also had that um, another dagger against the Fever in that same game as well, game two. So, yeah, I mean, she adds what everyone has already been saying as far as playoff experience, as far as, you know, someone who knows what to do in those tough and late game situations. Someone who knows how to play within their own role, right? Because you didn't, in that series, you never felt like she was imposing herself in the game. Like, she just let the game come to her, right? And that's the type of player that we need, because the one who's going to be imposing herself in the game should be Kaylin Clark, and that's it, right? So just a perfect addition, and of course, no one would know more about her being a perfect fit than Stephanie White. And then we moved to Natasha Howard, and I don't really remember much about Natasha Howard during last season. So I mean, I started watching the WNBA pretty much last season, and I'm right now just speaking from what I saw during that time. And Natasha Howard, when we played the wings, yeah, there were times where I was like, "Oh man, this person's annoying," because they were getting all the rebounds, right? I mean, it's someone who affects the game in different ways. Like, as a fan, you're like, "Man, who's this player?" Right? And to me, she was probably more impactful than Arike, because Arike, she's gonna score, 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 right? But the problem with these players, like, are, kind of like Natasha Howard, like Lexi Holes and things like that, is that they do the little things to make sure that the team can get extra possessions, right? Whether getting the offensive rebounds, or getting steals, or coming up with big plays, or getting after 50-50 balls. So that just seems to be what Natasha Howard brings to the table, which is great, again, for what that Fever team needs. And then that type of approach to the game, typically it's contagious. So then you see other players wanting to do the same thing and get after, 50-50 balls with the same tenacity that Natasha Howard is doing. So, I mean, to an extent, same thing. We have a player like that in Lexi Hall, and we brought a player like that in Sophie, Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner. So right now we are surrounded by players who want to make game impacting plays to win basketball. And even if you look, now kind of pivoting a little bit to, we still have Dantas, Damaris Dantas on the bench, and she's a winner. what I see in this roster, how this roster has been constructed, and even if you want to add Sydney Colson, which I really don't remember anything about, so I really don't have anything to say about Sydney Colson other than all the different um, you know discussions and discourse that I've seen in social media. But if you just look at Colson's resume, she's been a champion as well. Like she's win just being around championship teams. It's incredible addition, in my opinion, to this team that is just what Stephanie White is doing is surrounding the team with winning players who are used to making winning plays, right? And then you add Aaliyah Boston, who's won a national championship at the college level. You have winners all over the place. So and a super skillful, talented player in Kelsey Mitchell, who's just she's going to provide 40% from three, and she's super athletic and super fast and can finish at the rim and everything that we've said about Kelsey Mitchell. So I just don't see weaknesses with this roster at all. Uh, It's gonna be hard, I think, for them to get beat. I would imagine that it might take some time for them to play together, but the beauty of all of this is that all of these moves have happened now, right? It's February. So you still don't even report to you're not supposed to report to training camp in 2 other months, right? And then you're gonna have training camp to be able to and then Stephanie White Stephanie White is working already, right? She's working right now. She pretty much has a set roster, so she's working right now on schemes, on lineups, on combinations, and all these things, on the different plays that you can run, right? So by the time that they come to training camp, it's pretty much just a matter of, okay, here's what we want to run, here's what we want to do, here's the role that I want you to have, here's the role, because Stephanie White is a visionary, right? And she's great at basketball, she's great with people. I compare her to Phil Jackson, so she's going to be able to work with this roster perfectly. Um so but to me, if they're going to struggle, it's probably going to struggle at the beginning, but I don't see it because they have so much time to prepare for what they're about to see. And I also believe that this current team, this staff, again, they have a great scouting report on all of the teams, so they know exactly how they want to approach every player, every team. It's just gonna be scary. It's gonna be scary. And even Stephanie White she's never coached a talented roster like this in her life, right? She's never coached such a talented player like Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey. Like she's never had that. If we look back again, I continue to say that Connecticut Sun team was super flawed, super flawed. That was not a good team. The Fever roster, as it was last season, was better than the Connecticut Sun roster. It just was. The problem wasn't talent. The problem was coaching, really, and being able to utilize your players in the best way to put them in positions to win. That was the problem last year. That's why the Fever didn't win that series. Now I just don't see how any team has any chance. I mean, you even look at the Liberty. I kind of feel bad for the Liberty. I kind of feel bad for the Aces. They just don't have the personnel in any way. Like, to me, Stephanie White is the best coach in the WNBA, much better than Becky Hammond, if someone were to say that she was the best coach, but there's no way. So I mean, that's I know I do want to, you know, temper or kind of like set my expectations not too high, but it's hard not to do that. So I do think this team is probably going to be the first seed. I do think that they're going to have about 5 All Stars in the All Star game. I do think that they're going to win the title. I just don't see how they don't win the title, bearing any sort of injuries or any crazy thing like that. I just don't see how they don't win it all. So I think for this season, the expectations has simply just gone to it's championship or bust. Um, what went wrong that this team wasn't able to win the championship. So, but anyways, that's pretty much what I wanted to do. Just kind of cover a little bit about this signings and the off season and my thoughts on everything going into training in training camp in the beginning of the season, an update on the channel, right? I'm hoping that starting next week, I'll be doing more content and perhaps even on different sports topics as well. But my main thing is Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. And I know I didn't talk too much about Caitlin Clark, but she's just, I mean, she's everywhere. She continues to be, in my opinion, the biggest sports person in America. I don't think there's anyone bigger than her at this point. Indiana Fever is America's team, and a lot of it is because of Caitlin Clark. So, but she stayed. You know, she has been everywhere and different things. She's been at the football game. She's been now. It seems like she's involved a little bit with the Super Bowl thing. Um, doing, you know, what is it, conversations and appearances at different places and different chats and seminars and things like that, because she does have a lot of things to offer, right, from a professional standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, communication standpoint. Like, that's the biggest thing with Caitlin Clark. It's not just all about basketball. She has so much more to offer, and that's why she has such the fan base that she does. It's because she's such a complete athlete that we don't see very often. Um, but that's it. That's it for this video. Let me know your thoughts on the off season for the Indiana Fever. Let me know your thoughts on what you think the expectation should be coming in. But yeah, I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to the beginning of this season. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.